So I'd like to welcome everyone this evening for our ninth week of our meditation course. So there's just one more to come after this. And so today it's going to be a little different than what we've talked about in some of the other days. So instead of introducing a new meditation object, because we've gotten quite a few, we've got a lot already, so we've got a lot to work with. So what I'm going to do today is talk about ways we can bring our practice into our everyday life to really deepen our meditation. A couple years ago, I was at Wat Pah Nanachat in Thailand, and I was doing a question and answer with some lay people who had come to visit the monastery. And there was one layman, I think he was from Russia, and he was asking me a question. He was saying, I've been meditating for 10 years, and I don't feel I've gotten anything out of it, or I haven't gotten anywhere in my meditation. And this is something which can sometimes happen to people, is that we learn the techniques and the skills for meditation, and we get to a certain point, but we can't feel we get any further. We're not feeling that we're able to take it any deeper. And so these practices I'm going to teach today are ones we can do in our everyday life to maximize this, to be able to take our practice that step deeper and go that step further with it. So the list I'm going to talk about today is called the Apannaka Dhammas. So a lot of times they translate as the incontrovertible teachings, which is kind of an awkward word, but that also is the teachings which are on the practices which are always right and never wrong. So it's a list of three. So the first one is what's called um, Indriya Samvara, so which is sense restraint. The second one is Bojane Matanyuta, which is moderation in eating. And the third one is Jagaryanu Yoga, which is devotion to wakefulness. So when we start um, bringing these practices into our life and into our daily lives, these are things we can do all the time. Um, it really changes the way we practice and the results we get. I always like to use the simile of for exercise. So, if our goal of exercise is we want to get that perfect gym body, the muscles, the six pack, all of that. So that's our goal. So practicing meditation without practicing the Apannaka Dhammas, that's like someone who, to get to this goal, just goes to the gym and works out in the gym, does a really good workout, works really hard, but outside of that doesn't do anything. They just, go lie on the couch the rest of the day. They eat garbage food, they eat fast food, they don't rest enough, they don't do any of healthy lifestyle outside of that. And so someone who is practicing the Apannaka Dhammas would be the same as someone who goes to the gym and does that same exercise, that same workout. That outside of the gym, they eat healthy, they eat the right foods, they get the proper rest, they live a healthy, active lifestyle. And so that second person, they're going to get much more results in their exercise. They're going to get that gym body a lot quicker. The first person, they're still going to benefit, like, going to the gym, doing that exercise. There's still going to be benefit. It's going to help their health. They're going to get muscles, but they're not going to get the same results as the second person who really takes it to that next level and makes it an entire life practice, a holistic practice. So this is how it is with these Apannaka Dhammas. And these are things that in the forest tradition, in the meditation traditions in Thailand and other places, these are a very central focus of a lot of our lifestyle. A lot of our practice is really to really develop these and to really keep these, and it really becomes the heart of our meditation practice. So much of our lifestyle and so many of our rules are focused around keeping these. And these three dhammas, these three qualities, they actually come up again and again in the Buddhist teachings. So they do come up on their own, but quite often they come up in sets of other ones. They're always added to other ones too. But so for us, they're really, really strongly emphasized. So the first one is called Indriya Samvara, which is sense restraint. And so you can really break this up into two, which is one is called guarding the sense doors, And the other is really controlling and being mindful of what we do let in through the senses. So in Buddhism, we actually have 6 senses instead of 5 senses. So we have the nose, the tongue, so nose with smells, the tongue with taste, the ear with hearing, the eyes with sights, the body with touch or tactile contact, and then the mind with mind objects. So we've got these 6 senses, and whatever goes in through the senses, can affect the mind, can stir up the mind. So the first thing we do is for sense restraint is guarding the sense doors. So this is, having mindfulness at our senses. So mindfulness of what we're watching, mindfulness of hearing and stuff like this, so that we don't, what the Buddha called, go grasping at the signs and features of stuff. So what can happen is, when you see something and you start grasping at the signs and features of it, you look at it and then your mind starts really going off with it. Oh, look at that. That's really great. I would do it like this. And it can really lead to this proliferation and this thinking and this liking and disliking. And it really can stir up and agitate the mind. And, especially when we're developing our concentration, we really want to calm the mind down and keep it more focused. Whereas if we have mindfulness at these at what we call the sense doors, so like the eye, the nose, the tongue, mindfulness at this sense doors, when there's sense contact, this can prevent the mind from going off and chasing these things and getting really infatuated with them or disliking them. But it doesn't mean that we're living as like, some kind of spaced out zombie, or we're just completely unaware of what's going on around us. We're just going to have mindfulness. So instead of getting completely, it'd be like going to the beach. Instead of getting completely swept away in the waves, we're standing back on the beach watching the waves. And there's in my monastery, there's this kind of famous teaching of at with Ajahn Chah's monastery, Wat Pah. At one point, it was getting kind of busy and it was kind of getting noisy. So some of the Western monks there, this is back in the 70s, and they went to Ajahn Chah and started complaining to him. Oh, Ajahn, it's so noisy here. I can't practice. The noises are all bothering me. And Ajahn Chah said to them, no, the noises aren't bothering you. Your minds are going out and bothering the noises. And so, so that's the thing. Our mind goes out. So we're going out and we're attaching to that. We're making a big story out of it. And so when we guard the sense doors and have the mindfulness at this sense contact, this will prevent it. And the other thing for sense restraint is really being aware of what we're taking in through the senses. Because like I was saying, everything which goes in through the senses can affect the mind. And so we really try to limit it and not overdo it. Like you can say, for example, just look at yourself. If you're very peaceful and calm, and then you go watch some crazy action films. I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger is making them anymore, but in my day, that was who made them all. And just look at your mind afterwards. It'll be stirred up. It'll be more agitated, and so this can really affect us. Or a lot of people, it can be, for example, the news. When things are going all crazy in the world, and you watch this, it can really stir you up, get you really agitated. So, and it works for anything from any of the senses. So we really want to be mindful of what we're taking in through the senses. And again, the more as we're trying to calm down the mind, we don't want to take in a lot of stuff to stir us up. But again, there is just living life. You can't just completely cut yourself off from all the senses in the world. That's not the way to become to practice, to put an end to suffering. So Ajahn Chah, when he was a junior monk practicing, he had tried this. He filled his ears with wax and thought, okay, if I can just not hear anything, then I won't be stirred up by that. And it didn't work. It didn't make him more peaceful. And he was saying, because again, this agitation arises in the mind. It doesn't arise at the ears. It's not that, deaf people naturally will be better meditators than people who aren't. So we just have to keep practicing this and developing it. And just when we do this, just being aware of what's affecting us, how it's affecting us, and just continue to work with that. Because all these practices, these Apannaka Dhammas, they're ones we have to practice over a period of time. We can't just, do them one day and been like, oh, wow, I had my senses restrained today. Why am I not enlightened? Where's my samadhi? They're practices which take some time. And so the second one is called bojane matinuta. So this is a moderation in eating. And so a lot of times, you'll hear eat little. But the Buddha, he, especially, with the monks and for the monks' rules, he never set a amount of food we have to eat. Like he could have very easily been like, okay, you can only eat one cupful of rice, or you can only eat this. But he didn't, because everyone's different. Everyone's bodies are different. Everyone's metabolisms are different. Like, especially in the monastery where we have the one meal a day, we all eat together in the meditation hall out of our bowls. You see that you can get some very tiny little monk, and he's just a tremendous amount of food. And then you can get a bigger, much heavier monk who doesn't even eat half of what he does, because we all have different bodies, different metabolisms, and so we have to learn to eat what's the right amount and have the right moderation for eating with us. Because one of the things we discover is when you're practicing, if you overeat, like, you just kind of assume overeating would mean more energy because it's more food. But it's actually the opposite. When you overeat, your mind gets more dull, it gets more sluggish, it becomes very difficult to concentrate. It also, it's leads to sleepiness and stuff. If you're trying to meditate, all that blood goes to the stomach. So overeating really can really negatively affect your meditation. But not getting enough to eat, that can also affect your meditation. If you're constantly under malnourished and not getting enough, the brain doesn't work as well. It becomes fuzzier, it becomes more difficult to meditate. A lot of times you can get a little more irritable too. And so what we've got to do to get this moderation in eating right, we've got to play around with a bit and find what amount works for us, and also be able to be flexible with it too. Because one of the things you'll see is in different times in your practice and in your life, the amount you'll eat and you'll need to eat will change. So your practice might be going really well, and you might be like, actually, I really don't eat so much. But you might be doing more physical activity at one point. Say you have more work or whatever, you might need more food at that point, or depending on your health, if you're sick, if you've got some kind of chronic illness or something, that might need to change. So just being able to be flexible with it and aware of where we are and where our body's needs are with that. Because it's one of those things, like, so much of practicing Dhamma is finding this thing called the middle way. So that kind of the balance point, kind of that optimal point. But one of the things you see is it takes time to find it, but it is one which does change over time. So, as you get older, you might, your body changes, your needs of your body might change. And so just being able to be flexible with that. And then the third one is called Jagarayanu Yoga. And this is devotion to wakefulness. So this is really trying to find that right amount to sleep, and being able to get that right amount of sleep. So again, this is one of the things the Buddha didn't give an exact amount of time to sleep. He did give kind of rough guidelines for it, but he didn't give a right amount, because again, everyone's different, everyone's needs are different, and our needs throughout our life are always changing for sleep too. So this is another one we have to get that right amount, play around and find that right amount where we are the most bright, the most aware, the most focused. So one of the things, again, is you find if you oversleep, like oversleeping, it makes the mind really dull, and it makes you more tired. One of the things you find when you oversleep is you get this like sluggish tiredness, dullness that you just can't seem to shake, and it just makes you want to sleep more. But of course, that's going to make it a lot worse. And so, and one of the things I find is if I oversleep, the moods are much more difficult to deal with. Much more easier for different moods, like especially like grumpiness and stuff, to arise. And when they do come up, because your mindfulness is weaker, they're harder to deal with and harder to get rid of. And one of the other things, even the Ajahns in Thailand all talk about is a lot of times when people oversleep, they'll just naturally overeat as well. It just kind of makes you want to overeat, which makes you more tired, which makes you want to sleep more. So it becomes this real vicious circle. So we really want to avoid that oversleeping. But undersleeping can be just as bad. If you really aren't getting enough sleep, you may find that when you do go to meditate, you just sit down and boom, fall right asleep. Or you may find your mind is just, again, dull, hard to focus. And a lot of times undersleeping can make people really irritable. So in the monastery I ordained at, we have this practice where once a week we have to stay up all night meditating, and just meditating through the night without sleeping. So we have a rule in the monastery that the next day you're not allowed to admonish anybody on anything. You're not allowed to point out when anyone does anything wrong, because people are a little more irritable those days, and it's better just to wait until everyone is actually had their sleep. But it's also really good to remember with sleep, that and with eating and with all these other ones, is that if we do not follow one of these, or we do break it. So for example, Christmas is coming up. If you overeat at Christmas time, or one day you sleep in, you oversleep, it doesn't mean, okay, I didn't follow the Apannaka Dhammas today. I screwed this one up, so I just can't practice today. We can't, we don't want to get into that. We still have to keep working and keep developing it. But if we can really work on these and really getting these balanced nicely for us, one of the things we do see is that our meditation can really start to take off and really start to do well. And so we can avoid falling into that trap uh, of meditating a lot and not really getting anywhere, or not feeling like we're getting anywhere in our meditation. So we can, again, we can really maximize the results from the effort we're putting into our meditation. And so these are the Apannaka Dhammas. And the only other thing I'd like to add tonight, for practice we can do to help our meditation, is to try to maintain mindfulness throughout our days, and trying to keep that presence of mind going throughout our days. Because the more mindful we are, our mind is already calm, it's already focused, it's already holding on to an object. So when we do sit to meditate, it's like, instead of starting at 0 and trying to go to 100, we might be already starting at 40 to go to 100. So our mind is already getting part ways there. And and so we have to develop these different skills to try to keep mindful in the day. Because it's easy to say just be mindful, but it's like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean, or how do I do that in the day? So what we want to do is keep our mind on an object, and keep our mind from proliferating or thinking off. So in the Thai forest tradition, the traditional practice they teach is to do just this mental recitation of Buddho all day long. So keeping a meditation word going all day long. Or in some of the Mahayana traditions, like in China or in Tibet, they'll use like a mantra, like a meditation phrase. But this can actually be quite hard for a lot of people. So when I was new at the monastery, I was reading these books by some of these like legendary forest monks like Lungpa Man and Lungta Mahabua, and they were talking about how they just did this practice of just Buddho all the time. And and then their meditation after that just went great. They never had problems. And so I tried that, and just doing Buddho, Buddho, mentally reciting it. And I do it for like 30 seconds. And then, 5-10 minutes later, I'd realize I'd been thinking this whole time. And I'd get really hard on myself. I'd think, oh no, I'm a terrible novice. I'm never going to be a good monk. I just can't do this. But what I didn't realize was, for a lot of people, that's a really hard practice. And it's hard to just keep that one recitation going in your mind all day. So what I found really useful and really helpful was, I would split my day up into activities and view each activity almost like a meditation session, or like a mindfulness session, and try to think of a meditation object or object of mindfulness to use during that period. So one of the ones I found really helpful, and a lot of adjuncts do recommend it, was counting steps. So I'd say, okay, when walking from my hut to the meditation hall, I'll view this 5 minute, 10 minute, 20 minute, depending how far my hut is from the hall period, as like a meditation period, and just try to count my steps as I go. And you find that as the number starts getting higher, it takes a bit more mental energy to stick with it, And so it would keep you in the present moment and keep the mind from proliferating and thinking off. Um, and the other thing is it kind of can really show you where your mind is at that moment, because some days it's very easy for the mind to stay with the object. It just really wants to. It's very easy. And then other days it's quite a struggle. It's like kind of like you're almost like fighting your mind to keep it with the meditation object. And then still other days it's like, no, can't do it. The mind is just, it's more powerful than me right now. And so yeah, so that's just the other point I'd like to make for encouraging people to uh, develop their practice outside of just their meditation. And these are kind of little techniques we can do to really maximize and get the best results for our meditation. So I would like to offer that as a reflection to everyone this evening.